There's no love lost in this rivalry as Roanoke and Washington and Lee renew their rivalry here at Wilson Field in the 2024 meeting of number 19 Roanoke and number 10 Washington and Lee. The Maroons 13-3 overall, 7-1 in ODAC play, come here to Lexington to try and knock off Washington and Lee for the first time since 2017 as the Generals stand at 12-3 and an unbeaten 8-0 mark in conference play. They've won 8 straight games and are playing some of their best lacrosse of the season. We welcome you here to Wilson Field on the campus of Washington and Lee University here in Lexington, Virginia. Thanks so much for making us part of your Tuesday night entertainment. Ryan Connell with you here, taking you up to and through today's contest between the Maroons and Generals. Roanoke last time out beat Randolph-Macon over the weekend by a final of 20-7, which was the final home game of the regular season for the Maroons as they got to 7-1 in conference play. They suffered their only loss in conference play to the University of Lynchburg last Wednesday, an 18-15 final down in Salem in which the Hornets got the better of the Maroons. Both of those teams trailing Washington and Lee in the conference standings, just a game behind the Generals, who knocked off Lynchburg a couple of weeks ago at Lynchburg by a final of 10-9, trying to solidify their spot as the top team in the conference heading into the postseason with a win here this evening. A win gets Washington and Lee the number 1 seed in the conference tournament, which will begin next week. As for Roanoke, a win here tonight for them will force a 3-way tie for the number 1 seed between Roanoke, Lynchburg, and Washington and Lee. Since they will have all split their head-to-head record, it goes to the next tiebreaker, which is common opponents. They will have played the same rest of the other teams in the conference. We will move to then a third tiebreaker to determine a winner, and that'll go to goal differential between the teams tied. So between the 3 teams across the 3 games between those programs, it'll come down to goal differential. If we're to do that, it will at least come down to whatever the result of this game is between Washington and Lee, Lynchburg, and Roanoke. But for Washington and Lee, it's simple. You win, and you're the number 1 seed in the conference tournament, which begins next week. For Roanoke, they're trying to force a 3-way tie for the regular season conference crown and try and shuffle up to playoff positioning as we get ready for the postseason. Today's game features a couple of top scorers across the conference, and more specifically, it features the premier scorer in the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, and he plays for Roanoke. That's number 41, Luke Cameron, the senior from Trumbull, Connecticut. Has the second most points in a career in Old Dominion Athletic Conference history. He became the all-time assist leader in conference history with 172 assists after his performance on Saturday against Randolph-Macon. He sits 25 points behind becoming the all-time leading scorer in conference history. As for Washington and Lee, they post a top offensive player themselves. Alex Brown, second in the conference with 52 goals this year, closing in on a WNL program record. The single-season record for goals in a season is 60, set by Taylor Witherell and Andy Jenkins. Alex Brown sits 8 goals away from matching that mark. So a couple of stars to keep our eyes out for today's game. Plenty of storylines when these two teams get together. We'll step aside for the national anthem when we come back. Starting lineups in the opening face-off between Roanoke and Washington and Lee. Hamilton will sky it into the air as Washington and Lee is on to the quarterfinals of the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2004. Welcome back here to Wilson Field on the campus of Washington Lee University, getting set for today's top 20 matchup between number 19 Roanoke and number 10 Washington and Lee. The Maroons starting lineup is as followed. A senior on attack from Chevy Chase, Maryland, number 2, Luca Docking. He's joined on attack by a senior number 9, Wyatt Whitlow, and a senior number 41, Luke Hammerman. In the midfield for the Maroons, it's Sean Kennedy, Julian Cameraman, and Noah Bell. On defense for Roanoke, Weston Hammond out there with Matt Jarries and R.T. Williamson. And in goal for the Maroons, making his 9th start of the season, the senior from Beaufort, Georgia, number 30, Taylor Lewis, is an 8.32 goals against average this season with a save percentage above 57%. Head coach Bill Pilot in his 36th season in charge of his alma mater, standing at 399 career wins, trying to become just the 7th coach in NCAA men's lacrosse history to reach 400 career wins. It's the 5th most wins among active coaches in lacrosse. Men's college lacrosse as it stands right now. As for Washington Lee, the number 10 team in the country, riding an 8-game winning streak, 12-3 through their first 15 games. Their starting lineup is as followed. On attack, James Haley, along with Hillis Burns and Alex Brown. The top unit midfield for the Generals is Jack Elliott, along with Leif Smith and Michael Ott. On defense for the Generals, Jed Heald, Matthew Azell, and Chris Datz. And in goal, the first year from Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, making his 12th start of the season, number 55, Nick DeCane. He possesses a 9.20 goals against average and a save percentage of 50%. Head coach G. McCabe in his 18th season in charge of the Generals, as Washington and Lee has won 6 straight meetings against Roanoke. Roanoke last won this game between the Generals and Maroons back in 2017 down in Salem. The last time they won here in Lexington was the previous year in 2016. Last year, Washington and Lee got the better of Roanoke 16-12 down in Salem. Maroons trying to avenge that here today. Head coach Bill Pilot looking for win number 400 in an intense rivalry game. Anything you can ask for, storylines galore, and it's a top 20 matchup, none to boot, between Washington and Lee and Roanoke. It'll be Tyler Spano and Jake Brader, a couple of first years, to get us ready with the opening face-off here at Wilson Field. Generals left to right, Maroons right to left. All in the home whites, while Roanoke in the visiting Maroons, as it's Brader who wins the opening face-off for Roanoke as they start with the ball on offense first. Docking being pressured by Heald out on the perimeter will give way to Wyatt Whitlow. Whitlow leads the conference in goals this year with 53, one better than WNL's Alex Brown. He was a second-team all-conference selection last year with 58 goals during his junior campaign. Sean Kennedy will work it around as Luke Cameraman gets his first touch. Here's Whitlow across the middle. He's met by Ryan Donahue. Noah Bell up the far side. This one off the stick of Luke Cameraman and out. And Roanoke turns it over in their first offensive possession. Heald with plenty of room to work through the middle. Gets it for Elliott, who brings it across midfield. Elliott, Ott, and Leif Smith starting midfield unit for the Generals. It's Burns, Ott, and Haley, or Burns, Haley, and Alex Brown out there for Washington and Lee as well. Here's Jack Elliott. A little stop and go gives way for Hillis Burns. Burns to his right. A shot and a save by Taylor Lewis. His clearing pass can't be settled at first after some bounces off the turf. Bryson Miller will recollect. He's pressured by Michael Ott. The Generals ride, providing the pressure, and Miller gets it through midfield for Luke Cameraman. His pass batted down. Couple of checks all around. And settling it on the far side is Miller for the Maroons. Miller will wind and fire. DeCane drops to a knee to make the save. His clearing attempt knocked down. Whitlow picks it up and scores. Roanoke with the first goal of the night, thanks to Wyatt Whitlow picking up a loose ball out in front. Docking knocked it down. Whitlow scooped up the damage, and Wyatt Whitlow's got his 54th goal of the season as Roanoke puts the first goal across just over 2 minutes in. Spano angling for positioning. Bodies flying all over the turf. Couple of checks as the ball makes its way to the W&L defensive end where Docking will collect. DeCane makes a save on a quick chance by the Maroons. Outlet pass up for Spano. Here comes W&L in transition. Elliott, to his right, will settle behind a Roanoke goal. Smith out on the perimeter, pressured hard there by DJ Nolan. They'll leave off for Haley. Haley, give and go back to Smith. And dance his way around the crease. Elliott, one more for Burns. He'll wind and fire and score for the Generals. Good rotation around the offensive zone. Finds Hillis Burns out on the perimeter, and the junior from Louisville's got goal number 28 of the season as Washington Lee knots the game at 1. Earns from Elliott as Jack Elliott picks up his 4th assist of the year. Levels this one with 11:39 to play here in the first. Spano and Brader again. So the best face-off guys in the conference, each over 59% entering the day, both top 5 in the ODAC, and Brader gets the better of Spano on this one. Roanoke trouble with the pass as they throw it into the Washington and Lee bench. And Roanoke will take a timeout. Head coach Bill Pilot will look to settle his group down. 11:29 left here in the first. 1-1 our score between Washington and Lee and Roanoke. Maroons scored the first goal of the game, thanks to Wyatt Whitlow picking up a loose ball out in front. And then Hillis Burns had the answer for the Generals just about a minute and a half later from Jack Elliott. As that stands our score with 11:29 left to play here in the first quarter. We mentioned it in the pregame. Coach Pilot sitting at 399 career wins, trying to close in on 400 wins. Roanoke trying to pick up their first win against Washington and Lee in 7 years. The Generals looking for their 9th straight win, including another win over a ranked opponent, and looking to be unbeaten in conference play for the 2nd time in 3 years. Generals close out conference play here tonight for a top 10 matchup against Christopher Newport over the weekend. Roanoke, this is their final game of the regular season, and then it is on to the postseason, which begins next week with the ODAC tournament. So a lot of implications, and obviously with such a rich history between these two teams, expected to be just a solid matchup between the Generals and the Maroons. So Washington and Lee will play it back in front of their own bench with a fresh 80 on the shot clock as Jack Todd will work it ahead for the Generals. He'll bring it across. Jack Todd out there with Andrew Keller. And it'll be James Cardillo to join him in the midfield. Brown, Ott, and Haley all still out there for Washington and Lee. Ott spinning back to his right, down below the goal line. Will sling one across for Cardillo. Cardillo fires one wide of the net. Haley pressured by Weston Hammond. Tries to circle and shoots it off the side of the cage. Lewis will clear it from his crease as Roanoke will look to push ahead. This Maroons team has not had trouble scoring goals this year, that's for sure. As Lewis brings all the way across midfield, he'll just keep on going. Lewis looking for a goal, and this one, DeCane is able to deflect wide. Roanoke did have a goalie goal in their game on Saturday against Randolph-Macon, and again, Lewis left wide open on a clearing attempt. He just saw plenty of turf to keep on running, and no one was going to pick him up. Played 5 minutes here in the first, 1-1 our score. Dave Smith working around for James Haley. Burns will swing it across. Ott to make it himself. Another shot that hits the side of the net. Once again, Lewis will find a teammate and push it up. Long pass through the middle for Quinn Evans. He's got some real estate. Cameron off for Clayton Bilwick. Chris Datz drawing the defensive assignment of Wyatt Whitlow here to start. Luca Docking guarded by Jed Heald, and Luke Cameraman getting Matthew Azell as the primary defender. Here's Docking, stood up as he tries to work his way around. DeCane takes a hit after the ground ball, and Azell's there to scoop it up. And the Generals, they'll commit a turnover on the far side. So they'll stay with Roanoke here in the attacking third. Patrick Cullen gets past Henry Reed. Cullen to the net, and he scores. Patrick Cullen picks up his 11th goal of the season. This individual play will stop and go, gets through the stick checks, and goes up high for the Maroons' second goal of the night. Cullen, the sophomore from New Jersey, transferred in from Arcadia. Was playing his first season with Roanoke this season. Another guy that has been good depth piece up front for the Maroons, and proving his worth here with his 11th goal of the season, the second for the Maroons on the evening. Spano trying to come away with the face-off, a long run after it, and Datz able to pick the ground ball off the turf. Spano working straight ahead. Spano right to the cage, and he scores. Tyler Spano in transition for the Generals off the face-off. Keeps it himself, takes it hard to the net, and he picks up goal number 4 of the season. Quick one that bounced right in and back out. But Spano levels the scoring less than 20 seconds after Roanoke retook the lead. Spano, another face-off win. Haley, one more pass. And the Generals will recollect. Nearly running into each other as Haley not too close that time to Ryan Donahue. Back out comes Elliott Smith and Hillis Burns as well. Smith drops it off for Elliott. Able to swing it for Burns, and Hillis Burns has another. Generals take their first lead of the night on Hillis Burns' second goal of the evening. Once again, Elliott drawing a second defender, gives enough time and space for Burns. He goes low with the shot to beat Taylor Lewis and give W&L the 3-2 lead. 7:27 to play here in the first. Number 10, Washington and Lee 3. Number 19, Roanoke 2. Bilbo out there for a face-off for the Generals. He does his job, at least temporarily come away with it, but got met by a host of stick checks. Roanoke, quick to the net. Cameraman stopped by DeCane. This game has been played at a very steady pace in the early going. Sorry, the third save of the night for Nick DeCane. Jack Elliott runs right through a couple of defenders, one of which breaks its stick. Smith, from a tight angle, just misses the net. Minell will bring it back in with 6:50 left. A quick restart and a goal for the Generals. Washington and Lee strikes quick off the restart. It's Leif Smith with the low to high shot in the top corner of the net. And it's 4-2 Washington and Lee. So Smith gets his 15th goal of the year. James Haley picks up the primary assist. It's 4-2 Generals as they've scored 3 straight goals. All of them coming in the last minute and a half. Another big scrum for the face-off. Donahue away with it. Numbers for Washington and Lee. Donahue stopped. Lewis will come out of his crease just a bit to pick up the ground ball. And now here's a chance for Roanoke the other way. Jay Fry will fire, and he bounces one in. End-to-end action here at Wilson Field. And the Maroons get their 3rd goal of the evening. Jay Fry, just his 6th of the season for the short stick defensive midi. A big bounce shot that gets past Nick DeCane. .6:23 left here in the first. 4-3 our score. Spano couldn't really get a great handle on it. Well, the Generals touch it out of the zone, so it'll be Roanoke ball. Maroons will bring back out their top unit midfield. Sean Kennedy, Julian Cameron, and Noah Bell. Bell working against Blair Brennan. Brennan standing him up the whole way. Pass through the middle, looking for a deflection in front. It ends up out of bounds by the W&L bench. Elliot Cohen bring it ahead for the Generals as he lowers his shoulder ahead. Cohen with some speed across midfield. Smith able to corral what was a wayward pass. Smith for Burns. Burns to his left. Right behind the net for Haley. Here's Ott. Bounces one wide. Haley. Generals working around for Elliott. Stop and go, sets, plants, and scores. Jack Elliott makes it 5-3 Washington and Lee as he strikes for his 17th goal of the year. Just a little bit of hesitation there to get the defender to think twice. Able to step into his shot and fire one past Taylor Lewis. As W&L has put 5 goals across in the first 10-plus minutes here in the opening quarter as they lead at 5-3. Face-off win for Jake Brader and Roanoke. Maroons have won 6 of the first 9 face-offs here this evening. Brader has done a good job matching up with Spano here to start. Will Bowe is mixed in for a face-off as well for the Generals, but it's mainly been the matchup of a couple of first years, Brader and Spano going head-to-head, and so far Brader has had the upper hand. Luke Cameraman across the middle. Backhanded try there in front from Quinn Evans. Couldn't find the frame of the goal. Kennedy. Here's Julian Cameraman. Evans finds Docking, who's denied. Another big save for Nick DeCane. The Generals press ahead after a successful clear. 3.5 minutes to play in the opening quarter. Comes Andrew Keller. Jack Todd, Andrew Keller, and James Cardillo. Out second unit midfield here for the Generals. No Sam Menino tonight for Washington and Lee. Generals going a little deeper in the midfield unit. Joey Allen still out for the Generals as well after getting injured in just the 4th game of the season against Denison. A shot there from Keller is stopped. Here comes the Maroons in transition. Docking, skip pass, backside, one-on-one. Shot goes wide. Here comes Luke Cameraman, and he's stopped. Nick DeCane with his 5th stop of the first quarter. Back out comes Elliot Burns and Leif Smith. Well, Burns has had his impact on this game. Already 2 early goals for number 20 in white. Burns, low to high, stepped by Lewis. Quinn Evans. Here's a cutter over the middle. Bewick to Docking. His shot sails away. 1:23 left in the first. Possession stays with Roanoke. Docking. Head step up for step by Jed Heald. Whitlow will stretch it to the far side as we've inside the final minute here of the first. The Generals lead it 5-3. Still time for Roanoke to operate. And here's another goal for Patrick Cullen. So Cullen with an individual effort picks up his 2nd goal of the evening. Stops, turns, and slides it between the legs of DeCane on the turf to make this a 5-4 game. Roanoke has scored double-digit goals in every game this season. Their lowest output in a game was 10 against Mary Washington in what was just their 2nd game of the year back in early February. They won 10-9. They've scored at least 13 goals in every other game, including the games they've lost this season. They scored 13 in a losing effort against Dickinson, 16 against Wesleyan in a loss, and 15 against Lynchburg. A chance there for Cameron, stopped by DeCane. Rebound comes to the Maroons. This pass gets away, making its way towards midfield, and Roanoke able to corral it. Docking close to midfield. Less than 10 seconds to play here in the first. A last chance for the Maroons. Evans fires one across the middle, deflects around, and the first quarter comes to a close. Plenty of offense on display in the first 15 minutes. 9 combined goals, 5-4 our score. Number 10 Washington Lee in front of number 19 Roanoke. After 15 minutes, we'll have the second quarter when we return on the Washington and Lee Sports Network. Five to 4 our score here at Wilson Field after one quarter of play. Number 10 Washington and Lee in front by a goal over number 19 Roanoke. I kind of with you on the Washington and Lee Sports Network. A lot of offensive action in the first 15 minutes. Each goalie's been busy. Taylor Lewis, 4 saves, 5 goals allowed for Roanoke. Nick DeCane, 6 stops in net for the Generals. He's given up 4 goals. A couple of offensive leaders. Hillis Burns has 2 goals for the Generals. Patrick Cullen has 2 tallies for Roanoke. And Jack Elliott, a goal and 2 assists. A game-high 3 points in the first 15 minutes. It was a very back-and-forth affair as Roanoke controls the first face-off. Brader, his shot gets stuck in his stick on the way to the net and bounces well wide. But another face-off win for the Maroons, who now have won 8 of the first 11 face-offs on the evening. Mentioned it before, Washington and Lee win locks them up the number 1 seed in next week's ODAC tournament and also clinches them an unbeaten mark in conference play this season for the second time in 3 years. For Roanoke, a win vaults them into a 3-way tie for first place with Washington and Lee and Lynchburg, and then it comes down to the 3rd and 4th tiebreaker to determine seeding, and that is all based on eventually goal differential amongst the 3 games played by those 3 teams. As it stands right now, the Generals with the slight edge as we play on in the first minute of the second quarter. Bell tries to circle and shoots it off the side of the cage. Kane will come out of his net. His pass up ahead on a clearing attempt, well over the intended target, which was Riley Albricks. Washington Lee turns it over for just the second time here today. It's another opportunity for Roanoke early in the second. Wyatt Whitlow with a goal for the Maroons, but Docking and Luke Cameraman held relatively in check to start. And Overfooch have recorded a point. This shot from Sean Kennedy skips past the net and out. Whitlow stood up. Met by the physicality of Chris Datz. Bell with real estate in the slot. Left-handed shot misses. Laying out for it is Jed Heel, and that wins back possession for the Generals. Albricks on the far side. Tiptoe his way across. Hocking goes spiraling out onto the track, and the Maroons mid a penalty for offsides. Generals will just work it around here. Smith right in front. Haley on the doorstep. 6-4 Washington and Lee as James Haley strikes from right beside the net. Haley just gets separation from Weston Hammond, caught looking at Smith making a cut to the net. Haley able to slip by and scores 32nd goal of the year. A 6-4 advantage for the Generals with 12:26 to play here in the second. Still a scrum after the face-off, and coming away with is Jay Fry. He's met by a host of Generals. A lot of sticks flying everywhere. Ball comes bouncing to the near side. Alex Brown settles it. It's up for James Haley, who tiptoes the sideline to stay in. Elliott looking to turn the corner. Stopped that time by Lewis. Contact out in front of the net as Alex Brown's helmet comes off. We'll have to rotate off since his helmet popped off. We'll stay with Washington and Lee. 11:47 left here in the second. Brown took a big shot over the middle. A couple of Maroon players bearing down, and his helmet popped off. Elliott, or Burns, leaves that of danger. Burns, one more pass. Smith. Not on the far side. Still 25 to shoot for Washington and Lee. A chance from Cardillo, high and over the net. Generals still have 13 to shoot. Smith rifles one wide. Just 5 seconds left. Generals will make a couple of defensive changes as Haley will hold it in the corner and just toss it away. Generals will eat it for a shot clock violation with 10:44 left. Hammond looking for his options, working back and forth with Jaris on the far side. Wick able to stay in bounds, bring it ahead. Evans looking for the return feed from Luke Cameraman, gets away from him. Donahue will settle the ground ball. Now WNL will look to clear ahead. 8 for 10 on clearing attempts are the Generals here to start. Cohen being pressured by a couple of Maroons defenders, and right as he brings in the zone, Washington Lee will take a timeout. So a 9:53 here to play in the second, working with a 2-goal advantage. Head coach Gene McCabe will take a timeout to talk to his attack group. Fresh shot clock to go with it as well. So Generals will look to set things up here on offense. So far in the second, our only goal coming from James Haley. Dave Smith got the assist on a play right in front of the goal at 12:26. A lot of opportunities. Just with the style and pace of play being more end-to-end. Each goalie having to make some stops. Lewis, 4 saves so far, 6 goals allowed. The reverse line for Nick DeCane, 6 saves and 4 goals. Giving up each team with 18 shot attempts. Maroons have won 75% of the faceoffs, 9 for 12. It's the Generals that still have the 2-goal edge on the scoreboard. Last season down in Salem, Washington Lee walked away with a 16-12 win over Roanoke. It was the only time they had to play the Maroons. The Maroons ended up on the other semifinal of the conference tournament. Washington Lee took care of Hampton City on the road in the semifinals. Roanoke played Lynchburg real tight, but the Hornets got by, and then the Generals topped Lynchburg in the conference championship game last year down at Schellenberger Field. Mentioned how Maroons' only loss in conference has come to those Hornets of Lynchburg. That came last Wednesday, an 18-15 final down in Salem. Generals beat the Hornets 10-9 earlier this month. Each team wraps up conference play right here at Wilson Field tonight. 6-4 Washington Lee, fresh off their timeout. Full 60 seconds here to work. Burns, Elliott steps through and scores. Jack Elliott coming through with his second goal of the game. He's got a game-high 4 points. As Burns able to find him a few steps ahead, and Elliott strikes for the second time tonight. Elliott was such an impactful player for the Generals down the stretch last season, especially in the postseason. A couple of really big goals in the conference championship game against Lynchburg, some big goals in the NCAA tournament, and a great sophomore campaign, 25 goals and 12 assists. We're out to a second-team all-conference selection. Another face-off win for Roanoke, and Jake Brader have had the upper hand in that category. Julian Cameraman goes all the way to the turf, maintains possession. He's getting berated by the Generals, and it's Jay Fry that leaves the pile with the ball. Julian Cameraman settles it down. Older brother Luke, there's number 41 for the Maroons. It's Kennedy and Bell enter here for Roanoke, and Sean Kennedy goes upstairs for the 5th Maroons goal of the night. Sean Kennedy gets his 21st of the season, leaning into his defender, and goes short side high past DeCane for the 5th Maroons goal of the evening. Face-off win there for Spano. Hesitation by Ott on the far side as he'll settle. Cutter to the net, it's Haley. Lost control as he made his way over the middle, lost his stick as well. And the General sideline really making a point for Washington and Lee to try and slow down this offensive possession. Smith brings it all the way around the net. Here's Burns with some separation. Quick pass for Haley. Return over the middle is turned over. Breakout chance for DJ Nolan in Roanoke. And that shot got away from Luka Docking going high and wide. That'll allow each team to make a couple of changes. The ball made its way back out onto the field, so it'll have to be cleared off. Bell had it poked free by Azell. He's able to recollect and find Docking. Stop and go move here from Evans. Kennedy. Stopped by Jay O'Keefe. Kennedy. Misses everything. Another chance for Noah Bell, and another shot that just sails away. 25 left on the shot clock for the Maroons. Manel cutting off that chance for cameraman. As Chris Dat's got his stick in there to knock it away. Manel causes the 7th turnover of the night for Roanoke. Just over 6.5 minutes to play before halftime. Cohen dipping through. Roanoke offsides again. Trying to bring pressure right along midfield, and each time Roanoke attackers stepped across. Jack Todd for Andrew Keller. Haley trying to get behind the net. Deflects, but this will bring a stoppage as WNL will head to a man up for the first time today with 5:40 to play here in the second. So a 30-second penalty, offsides against number 9, Wyatt Whitlow. Oh, 30 seconds for WNL on the man up. First man up chance we have this evening from either side. Comes in a 7-5 game. WNL just working it around the perimeter. Stretch out. Defense here by the Maroons. As Roanoke's back to full strength. 30 seconds expire on the penalty against Whitlow. So WNL will recollect with 20 to shoot. Less than 5 minutes to play here in the second. Smith cutting back to the right. An absolute missile that goes well wide. Taylor Lewis, the goalie for Roanoke, quite pumped up. Just 6 seconds to shoot for the Generals. Ott looking in front. Throwing one on net and scoring is Alex Brown. In the waning seconds of the shot clock, Alex Brown comes through for the Generals. Great hand-eye coordination just to get a shot off. Backhanded low along the ground. That's goal number 53 of the season for Alex Brown, and it's 8-5. had been a quiet start for Alex Brown. Just got just enough separation and an angle to find a way to get that shot away. And he strikes. Another face-off win for the Maroons. Wick waiting for Patrick Cullen to join him. Quinn Evans as well makes up the second unit midfield for Roanoke. Evans dipping to his right. That one skies over the net. Then slips it across. Wick now Whitlow. Cullen. Controlled there by Blair Brennan on the slide. Cameraman circles, shoots, and fires wide as the shot clock will expire. Whole 80-second stand there from the Generals defense after taking an 8-5 lead. And a delayed flag to come out as Luke Cameraman was offsides right at midfield. He chased Elliott back. And he bit to come over the line. That's already the third time today we've seen a Roanoke attacker step off sides. Official on the near side had trouble seeing it, but the one on the far side, his delayed flag come out. Smith bouncing it off the goalpost, and WL will head back to a man up with 2:28 to play. So 2:28 left here in the second, and WL will be back a man up for the next 30 seconds. The last time they were a man up, they worked it around for the first 30 seconds, waited to get back to full strength, and then later scored right before the shot clock expired. Cameraman off for offside, so return at 1:58. Pass intended for Smith over the middle, knocked down and in the crease. Lewis will collect. Big room here for Roanoke on the clear. And wisely pulling it back out is DJ Nolan as the Maroons come back to full strength, and they'll take a timeout. 1:51 left here before halftime. Number 10, Washington Lee 8. Number 19, Roanoke 5. The Generals leading by 3 goals for just the second time tonight. They went up 7-4, and less than a minute later, Roanoke brought it back to a 2-goal game. But Alex Brown scored at 4:40 left here in the second to go back up 3, 8-5, and that's where things stand here with 1:51 left in the second. Maroons have been held to just 1 goal here in the second after 4 first quarter tallies. A goal calling from Sean Kennedy at 8:45. They've taken a couple of offsides penalties here in this middle of the quarter. The third one that they took did not actually go down as an official penalty because Washington Lee scored before there was a stoppage, so it negated the extra man opportunity. But they went 0 for 2 on its 2 extra man opportunities. Faceoffs have still been heavily favored in Roanoke's direction. They've won 11 of the first 15 faceoffs in today's game. Been 10 for 10 on clears as well. They've attempted more shots than the Generals. Nick DeCane has made 6 stops in goal. But a lot of the shots have also come close to hitting the cage for Roanoke. A lot of just quick turns and fires that go well wide. Bill Pilot using his second timeout here in the first half. 1:51 left in the second quarter, trailing by 3. 62 seconds to work on the shot clock for Roanoke as they bring it back along. And we are back underway here at Wilson Field. Kennedy denied by DeCane. There's a clearance, 4-on-3 rush for the Generals. Datz loads, fires, and bounces wide. A premier opportunity for Chris Datz in transition. Couldn't find the target. Elliott settled down on the far side. Haley behind the cage. Won't use a screen from Otten, just pass out of it for Burns. We're inside the final minute of the second quarter. Burns spinning, cutting Elliott, behind the back goal. Unselfish play between Burns and Elliott gets the 9th Generals goal of the night as Elliott goes behind the back to give WNL their largest lead of the night. 49.3 seconds left before halftime. And Jack Elliott has had his fingerprints all over this game. A first half hat trick, 2 assists, 5 points in the first half for number 5 in white. The Generals lead by 4. Spano wins the faceoff, back for the Generals. And a quick pass. Ott looking for a cutting Donahue, throws it away. Generals could have held for one final chance before halftime if they chose, but elected to go quickly that time. And they'll look to ride here against the clearing attempt for the Maroons. Hammond able to get it up for Kennedy. Final 15 seconds or so here in the first half. Luke Cameraman. His pass gets away. DeCane will throw it the length of the field back up for Lewis. He'll return it back down, and that'll go wide. Washington and Lee will take a 4-goal lead into halftime. 9-5 our score here in Lexington. And it's number 10, Washington and Lee in front of number 19, Roanoke. 5 first-half points for Jack Elliott, including a first-half hat trick and that behind-the-back goal to make it 9-5. We'll take another look at the most recent goal that came in the final minute of the first half. Burns for a cutting Elliott behind the back and in. As Washington and Lee takes a 9-5 lead into the halftime break. We'll step aside. When we come back, first-half stats and more analysis. The first 30 minutes between Roanoke and Washington and Lee. You're watching Washington and Lee men's lacrosse right here on the Washington and Lee Sports Network.
Proportion to me is the lived experience of our Division III student athletes. They balance life from an academic perspective and the rigors of competing at a high level, bonding with teammates and building lifelong friendships. But they also are involved in their communities. They work jobs and internships and volunteer. They've learned to be resilient. Diverse experiences are setting them up for the future.
Passion's love. Passion is love for what you do. Because I think when you face challenges, it comes down to how much you want it and how much you love it. Passion is what keeps you going forward. Seeing so many people that were like-minded and so hardworking in their sport and academics, being surrounded by like-minded people makes you want to be more passionate. I think it pushes you to a different level that maybe you didn't think you had. You can do the best of both worlds and love all of it.
A good citizen is someone who wants to make a positive impact, both in their communities and in the world around them. The Division III approach is absolutely the best approach out there for amateur sport because it wants student athletes to explore all parts of who they are. Be successful in the classroom, be successful in competition, be successful in the community. So our student athletes learn what it means to strive for and attain success, but doing it the right way and being good citizens.
Comprehensive learning is being able to adapt to experiences and apply the things that I learned. Being an athlete and juggling academics helped me grow as a person, and things that I've learned, I was able to apply it in another field, putting them into everyday life. Developing comprehensive learning helped me prioritize certain things to make sure I get to where I want to be.
Responsibility is being accountable for your words and actions, first and foremost. It also is an obligation to be a positive influence in the communities around you. Being in a D3 program, you're going to have lots of different opportunities. You're not just an athlete.
Side balcony.
Beef, beans, lettuce, queso, yeah.
Spring term is a 4-week term. It's a short term that follows our fall term and our winter term, where students study some topic intensively.
You take one course that's highly focused, highly specialized, and lets you really do a deep dive with your professors. It's the only course you take during that 4-week period.
All the spring term classes are fun. They are passion projects often for the professors, and the students get the benefit of that.
I teach a class called Media Management and Entrepreneurship. We've gone to various news organizations, and I have teams of students working to create new news products.
I did one American business and literature and film where we looked at traditional representation of business in movies and books in modern day America.
I'm doing a intro to research writing in the sciences. So currently we're working up to writing a big grant proposal for the research we'll be doing in the summer.
My favorite spring term course is Psychology of Humor. We talk about disparagement humor, what that does to intergroup relations.
Spring term presents the option to professors to create something totally new and take it out for a drive. I got to prepare this course where I take students to Lebanon. I get to show them where Alexander the Great was right next to where the current protests were 5 years ago.
I led a spring term abroad course called Black Writers and the Allure of Paris. We went to Paris to study African American writers who traveled to France after World War I during the Harlem Renaissance.
Throws them outside their comfort zone and they get to engage with cultures and societies one-on-one.
We really do welcome students to explore incredible opportunities in every area of our campus.
Back here at Wilson Field on the campus of Washington Lee. Our score at halftime, number 10 Washington Lee 9, number 19 Roanoke 5. As we take a look at some of the first half stats, both teams 25 shots in the first 30 minutes. Nick DeCain 7 saves in goal for the Generals, 5 saves for Taylor Lewis in net for Roanoke. On clears, the Maroons 11 for 11, WNL 12 of 14. Roanoke has had the big edge on faceoffs, winning 11 of 16 faceoffs in the first half. The Generals won just 5 first-half faceoffs, but do have the advantage on the scoreboard, 9-5, as we get ready to start the third quarter here at Wilson Field. Ryan Connell with you on the Washington Lee Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us. Oh, it's turned out to be a fantastic Tuesday night. If Washington Lee wins, they lock up not only an undefeated season in conference play, but also the number 1 seed in next week's ODAC tournament. If Roanoke wins, they beat Washington Lee for the first time in 7 years and force a 3-way tie atop the conference standings, as every team will be 8-1 in league play. The Generals control the face-off here to start the second half as Tyler Spano does his job. Cohen lines up, fires, and scores. It's a quick start to the third for Washington Lee as Elliott Cohen makes it 10-5. So Elliott Cohen gets just his third goal of the year The Generals win a big face-off to start the second half and score 15 seconds into the third. Have their largest lead of the night. Spano able to track this one down on the edge of the defensive end for the Generals. It bounces through. Possession turned over a couple of times. No one can settle it until Riley Albricks comes away with it on the far side. Dave Smith, Jack Elliott, and Hillis Burns will join them with Brown, Ott, and Haley all out on the field for the Generals already. Jack Elliott, 5 points in the first half, a hat trick and 2 assists. Hillis Burns, a pair of goals and 2 helpers as well, as the 2 juniors led the charge offensively for the Generals. Here's Elliott with one more. Have a night, Jack Elliott. His 4th goal of the evening, and he has taken full control of this contest. Entered the day with 19 points on 16 goals and 3 assists. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists for 6 points here this evening. We mentioned it in the first half, a guy that really came through in the postseason last year for the Generals. Well, it's been one of their biggest games of the season, entering the night, playing another ranked team with a chance to lock up the undefeated stretch in conference play. He has come through here to start in tonight's game as the Generals turn it over after winning another face-off. Roanoke will clear it up the far side. Logan O'Sullivan will dish off and retreat to defense as Kennedy Bell and Julian Cameron enter with the top unit midfield for WNL. Here's Kennedy. Forced back by Jay O'Keefe. Docking. Working around the crease. Back to his right hand. Bounces it wide. Had Jed Heald all over him as he tried to circle the cage. Kennedy forced back, recollects and scores. Second goal of the night for Sean Kennedy. He's got a response for Roanoke with 12:30 to play here in the third. So Kennedy picks up his second goal of the game, 22nd of the season for the senior from Houston, Texas. Face-off win for Spano. Haley waits for reinforcements. It comes in Elliott. He's been the man of the night for the blue and white. Burns. Down low here for Haley. Burns looking to squeeze one in. Can't do so. Rolls out with 32 seconds left on the shot clock as Haley brings it along. Elliott or Burns. He steps through, leaves off for Ott. Out in front, Alex Brown trying to keep it on the ground and rolls it wide. Won't get a reset on the shot clock. 10 to shoot. Burns misses high. 8 still left here for the Generals. They'll look to work quick. Ott for Elliott, and he'll fire it into the stick of Lewis as the shot clock runs out. Here comes Roanoke and Bryson Miller ahead. Three attackmen for the Maroons in the first half. Luka Docking, Wyatt Whitlow, and Luke Cameraman. Three of the top offensive players in the ODAC. All to just 1 point combined across the three of them. It was a goal from Whitlow, the league's top goal scorer. League's top point getter and Cameraman shut out in the first half. Docking as well. And nothing to show for it on the score sheet. The Wick skips one wide. Evans. Off for Bowick. Albricks with them stride for stride. Cameraman trying to pressure past Azell, rings one off the side of the iron. Settled down by the Generals. Here's a chance on the break, a 4-on-3 break. Haley, skip pass, looking for Ott on the doorstep, and just couldn't hold on to it. Saw the tempo of this game. Played at a high pace in the first quarter. But W&L really dictated things in the second, outscoring Roanoke 4-1. The shot is stopped by DeCane. Another breakout pass ahead for Cohen. 4-on-3 again for the Generals. It's Brown in front. How quick does Washington and Lee strike? DeCane, a breakout pass for Cohen. Finds Brown cutting to the net. And Washington and Lee goes end-to-end in a matter of seconds for their 12th goal of the night. Second goal of the game for Alex Brown, his 54th of the season. Elliot Cohen picks up the primary assist. Give the hockey assist to the goalie, Nick DeCane. Getting that play in transition as the Generals flash their speed from end to end. A tie up here at midfield between Brader and Spano. Couple of guys losing sticks. A violation on the Maroons. They'll cede possession to the Generals. Burns across his body, high pass gets away, and the Generals turn it over for the 8th time this evening. That one just an errant pass from Burns to Elliott. Julian Cameraman waving around. We'll find his older brother Luke. Leading scorer in the conference. Just a couple of shot attempts, and that's all. Bell. for Julian Cameraman. Kennedy. Behind the net, Docking. And a bounce shot drops in. That one being Julian Cameraman across the middle. So Julian Cameraman picks up his 18th of the season. His first goal here tonight. First team all-conference selection last year in his first year of collegiate lacrosse, and honorable mention All-American as well. Clean face-off win for Tyler Spano, looking for an answer and shoots it wide. Both Cameraman brothers make such an impact for this Maroons team. That's the first point from either of them. It comes from your younger brother Julian here in the middle of the third. A 12-7 game. Number 10 Washington Lee in front of number 19 Roanoke. Elliott will leave off for Burns. Works it around. Burns turns back to his strong side left. Lewis meets it with the stick for the save. Roanoke able to race it across midfield. It's Noah Elazar. Does his job to give off for Docking. As Cameraman, Kennedy, and Bell all cycle back in. That shot from Kennedy misses everything. Setting a screen that time was Aiden Sullivan, who took a big hit as the Domino defender ran right through him. This chance from Luke Cameraman. DeCane able to get enough of. He'll track down the loose ball to get possession for the Generals. First-year netminder Nick DeCane has done well against one of the top offensive teams in the conference thus far. He's had his hands full in net, but he has answered the call with 9 saves on the night. James Cardillo. Across for Jack Todd. Todd had it knocked free. Alex Brown, the support to keep possession. Cardillo for Keller. And that shot not close to the target. 20 seconds left for the Generals. With 4. Generals will just throw it away. Shot clock winding down anyway. So with 4:24 left in the third, Roanoke still trails by 5 but regains possession. Passing around the zone by the Maroons. As Docking brings it down. Cullen, drive to the net to Kane, the stop, rebound. Put home by the Maroons. take another look. Patrick Cullen makes a strong break to the net. DeCane answers the first one. The rebound comes out, and that's number 40, Clayton Bowick. Right place, right time for his 18th goal of the year, and he cuts it back to a 4-goal game, 12-8. 2 straight goals for Roanoke here in the third. Face-off win by Jake Brader. Try and keep this momentum building for the Maroons. Roanoke looking to add here in the third, and most recent goal scorer Bowick with a try that misses. Docking brings it back along. Tipping underneath is Docking. His shot goes wide. A flag flies. And it looks like it's going to be a penalty against the Generals, and it will. Ted Heald going to come off as Roanoke will have its first extra man opportunity of the night with 3:01 to play in the third. Referees indicating what the call should be. So 1 minute penalty against Heald at 3:01 to play in the third. Bring the first extra man opportunity for Roanoke. So they look to cut this back to a 3-goal game. Last time this was a 3-goal margin was when it was 8-5 with 4:40 to play in the second quarter. Oak works it around the perimeter. Out in front. Docking hits the crossbar. Rebound settled in and controlled by the Generals. Long pass up ahead as they're able to bring it forward to kill off some more time on the penalty against Heald. A prime opportunity for Luka Docking. He hits the crossbar right out in front of the goal. This game remains 12-8. Final 2 seconds come off the clock for the penalty against Heald. The Generals will stop the extra man opportunity for the Maroons. Now they look to work offensively. Ott has room. Bounces one. Lewis gets a piece of it as it makes its way out of play. Haley. Around it comes for Burns. 10 to shoot here for the Generals. Burns. Extra pass. Elliott. Shot blocked. Just 2 seconds left. The Generals midfielders will come sprinting to the sideline as they'll look to make a change. They'll dump it in the corner. Shot clock expires. Clock stops with 1:15 to play here in the third. More time left on the shot clock than on the game clock here in the third quarter. Roanoke could elect to hold for one final shot if they so choose. Julian Cameraman gets past a lot of contact as he gets his way close to midfield. Then a flag flies as the pressure of the WNL midfield and Riley Albricks continue to build. Docking this time rings the post and out. Docking hit the crossbar on his last shot, this time the far post and out. And a 30-second holding call against Riley Albrechts with 48.9 seconds left in the third. Sends Roanoke back to an extra man opportunity here in the final minute of the third quarter. Check that, it won't be against Albrechts after all. It'll be against number 39, Blair Brennan, instead. Evans all the way around. Shot by Whitlow, stopped by DeCane. Save number 11 for Nick DeCane. Elliott Cohen brings it ahead. Generals back at full strength. Cohen tries his luck and misses. 11 and a half seconds remain here in the third. Smith had to get rid of it as he stepped close to the crease, and W&L will just eat out the final few seconds of the third. Each team puts a couple of goals across in the third frame. Each team strikes 3 times. Washington will take a 4-goal lead to the fourth as they lead at 12-8 over number 19 Roanoke here on the Washington and Lee Sports Network. Back here at Wilson Field on the campus of Washington and Lee University. As number 10, Washington and Lee leads by 4 as we head to the fourth quarter, 12-8 over number 19, Roanoke. Ryan Collin with you on the Washington and Lee Sports Network. Today's game also found on 12 Out Sports. It is grassroots sports with dedicated authors, show host, and live sports across North America at 12ozsports.com. We head to the fourth quarter, Washington and Lee up by 4 goals. The Maroons score the final 2 goals of the third as the Generals stretch their lead to as many as 6, and 9:07 to play in the third. But back-to-back goals for Roanoke to close out the quarter has this at a 4-goal game as we start the fourth quarter here at Wilson Field. Going early that time was Jake Brader on the faceoff for the Maroons, so W&L will start the fourth quarter with possession. Generals trying to close out their second undefeated season in conference play in the last 3 years and wrap up the number 1 seed in next week's ODAC tournament. Roanoke is not only searching to try and force a 3-way tie atop the conference standings with a win here today, they're also trying to help head coach Bill Pilot get win number 400 for his career and beat Washington Lee for the first time in 7 years. Generals have the upper hand as we start the fourth. Ellis Burns controls. He's had himself a very productive night. 2 goals and 2 assists. Jack Elliott has been the man of the evening for the blue and white. 4 goals and 2 helpers for a game-high 6 points. Dave Smith controls behind the net for the Generals. He's got a step, turns the corner, hits the crossbar. Rebound comes out to Elazar. Roanoke gets it across midfield. Bryson Miller will give off. Julian Cameraman will settle. Kennedy across for Docking. Mentioned it in the third quarter. Luca Docking, Wyatt Whitlow, and Luke Cameraman, three of the top scorers in the ODAC, held to just 1 point combined across the three of them. That was a goal from Whitlow back in the first quarter. It was the first goal of the game. Docking 74 points, Whitlow 71 points, and Cameraman, a league best 82 points, have all been held in check to a combined one as Luke Cameraman turns it over. Opportunity for Chris Datz. He'll leave off for Haley. A trailing Ezell. Loading up is Henry Reed, and that one goes wide, but a flag flies, and W&L will be heading to a man-up opportunity. So three of the top scorers in the conference for the Maroons have been silent here this evening. Washington Lee goes man up for the third time tonight. They have not converted on each of their first two opportunities. Cameron gets a pushing call, so another 30-second penalty. Each of the other two man-up chances for the Generals were a pair of offside calls. 6-on-5, W&L works it around. Elliott. Stop, rebound comes back out. First there, Leif Smith. Haley looking for the top corner. Lewis read it the whole way. Long pass over the top. He's got Sullivan in transition. 4-on-3 break, and Roanoke strikes. The Maroons score in transition after the man-up opportunity comes to a close for the Generals. And it's Luca Docking with his first goal of the night, 48th of the season. And it's back to a 3-goal game with 12:10 to play in the fourth. W&L away with the face-off. That's for Haley. Cardillo, Keller, and Todd. The second unit midfield shuffle in. Keller just dancing around on the near side, works it to the far side for Burns. There's Cardillo. Backside for Todd. Haley at X. Spins back to his left. Double team comes. Passes out of it. Finds Todd. And his shot misses. .13 to shoot here for the Generals. They look to work quickly. Keller, a long ways away and a wide shot. 6 seconds left on the shot clock now. Generals will start to make a couple of defensive changes. Haley will throw it in the corner, and it's an empty trip on offense for W&L. Roanoke trying to change the tide here in the fourth. They've scored the last 3 goals in the game, dating back to midway through the third. They trailed 12-6. It's now 12-9. It will not help their cause there with the turnover through the middle. Now 5-on-3 for the Generals. Cohen, one more pass. Ott denied. Washington and Lee holds possession here. Just over 10 minutes to play in the fourth. Elliott, Burns, and Smith all rotate back in. Smith, and a crowd will pull it out. Burns, Elliott. Nice stop by Lewis. Able to get part of his body on that. Looked like his right leg got enough of that one. Elliott probing around for Burns. On the net, it's Haley. Haley up top, Burns, bounce shot. Lewis, the stop and goal for Roanoke. Taylor Lewis coming up with a few big stops. He's now up to 11 saves. So each goalie with at least 11 saves here this evening. Big hit by Jay O'Keefe causes a turnover against the Maroons as they look to clear. Smith running out of real estate in front of the Maroons bench, just throws it across the field. A race after it. Dat's first there. He'll throw it up ahead as the Generals bring it up. Coach McKay with his hands up on the sideline, just pleading for his team to slow down. After they were able to clear that across. Wants to get some fresh legs on the field as Keller, Todd, and Cardillo all re-enter. 8 minutes to play here in the fourth quarter. Number 10 Washington Lee up by 3 over number 19 Roanoke, 12-9. Brown, quick trigger and a goal. It's a hat trick for Alex Brown, a 4-goal lead for the Generals, as it's 13-9 on Alex Brown's 55th goal of the year. .7:49 to play in the fourth. And the Generals score for the first time since early in the third. Their last goal came at 9:07 in the third. They were held scoreless for nearly 17 minutes in the second half. But a big goal there pushes their lead back up to 4. A violation on the Maroons off the ensuing faceoff gives possession right back to W&L. Dylan McGurk trying to force Burns into speeding up on the perimeter. Elliott. Backside it's Ott. Ott dips through. Back out Burns. Curling try, deflected. Brown tracks it down before midfield. Walks the tightrope to stay in the zone. Elliott, strong charge to the net, and his 5th goal of the night. Number 5 in white, Jack Elliott, has been on a tear this evening. 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points. And his team leads by 5, 14-9. Bill Pilot and Roanoke will use a timeout. 6:43 to play in the fourth, and the Generals lead by 5. It's been number 5 in white, Jack Elliott, the man of the night for the blue and white, as we take a look back at his 5th goal of the game. Just a little hesitation, picks up a burst of speed, splits through and goes low to high past Taylor Lewis. And he has been a tough matchup all night for the Maroons. Enter the day with just 19 points this season. He's got 7 here tonight to push his total to 26 on the year for the junior from Suffolk, Virginia. He's been a factor starting every game this season in the midfield for the Generals. Has come through here against the Maroons. With the win, Washington and Lee locks up the top spot in next week's ODAC tournament and goes a perfect 9-0 in conference play for the second time in 3 seasons. Reigning conference champs going to put themselves in a spot to have the ODAC tournament run through Wilson Field. Roanoke, they're trying to claw their way back in this game and hope to force a 3-way tie atop the conference standings if they are able to win here tonight. Now down 5 with 6:43 to play in the fourth. Things have to start changing for the Maroons. Had a stretch there in the third quarter and early in the fourth where they scored 3 straight goals to bring it back to a 3-goal game. They held W&L scoreless for just about 17 minutes. But the Generals have scored each of the last 2 goals and once again lead by 5. Tyler Spano and Jake Brader on the face-off, and Spano wins the battle of the first years on the draw. What has been one of the big changes here in the second half for the Generals was something that they failed to do in the first half. Roanoke won 11 of 16 faceoffs in the first half. Here in the second half, Washington and Lee has won 10 of the 11 taken. So after Roanoke controlled the faceoff battle in the first half, it's been all things Tyler Spano here in the second. He's 15 of 23 on the night for the Generals on faceoffs. Elliott swimming his way through, looking for more. Stopped by Lewis. Rebound gets away from the goalie out of his crease. And possession is awarded to the Maroons. Just over 5.5 minutes left for Roanoke, trailing by 5. Julian Cameraman, some speed ahead. Kennedy. Cross for Cullen. There's Luke Cameraman. He has been shut out so far tonight, the leading point getter in the conference. Thanks in large part a lot to the defensive work of Matthew Azell, among others, on the back end for the Generals. There's his younger brother Julian, back to Luke. Cameraman misses everything. Whitlow tries to roll around and fires one well wide of the target. Kennedy with 10 to shoot. Drops one down on the turf and pass to Kane. 10th goal of the night for Roanoke. And Sean Kennedy has a hat trick. His 23rd of the season, and he has been The best offensive player for the Maroons this evening has been the senior from Houston. It's not been Docking Whitlow or Luke Cameron's night. Combined for just 2 goals and an assist amongst the 3, and with the leading scorer in the conference, Cameron held off the score sheet after having 82 points through the first 16 games. Another win for Tyler Spano, and faceoffs have been all in W&L's direction, make it 11 of 12 in the second half for Washington and Lee on faceoffs. A 14-10 game, 4 minutes to play in the fourth as the Maroons try and stretch their ride. And that'll force Coach McCabe to use a timeout with 3:59 left on the clock. So Washington and Lee will use a timeout here. The Generals have won 8 straight games after a 4-3 start. A win here tonight will lock up the top spot in the conference tournament next week. A perfect regular season at ODAC play. And we'll head into a top 10 showdown against number 7 Christopher Newport on Saturday. Winners of 9 in a row to close out the regular season for the Lacrosse the Nations Cup over in Newport News against the Captains. Roanoke plays its final game of the regular season here tonight against the Generals. They're off this weekend. Graduation on the horizon for the Maroons. They will play in the ODAC tournament next week. Their seeding will depend on the result of this game. If they were to lose, they will drop to then the 3 seed in the conference, and then we'll await the winner of the first round game, which happens on Sunday, to play on Tuesday. The Maroons will play at Kerr Stadium in Salem on Tuesday. The result holds. But 3:59 to play here in the fourth. Number 10 Washington Lee 14, number 19 Roanoke 10. W&L possession in the offensive end with 59 seconds left on the shot clock. Bring it back in. Elliott with Matt Jarries, a long pull out on him. He runs right through a screen of Michael Ott. Elliott just working this all the way around the zone. Comes all the way in front of his own bench and leaves off for Leif Smith. Maroons stretching their pressure, just trying to force W&L into a mistake. Knowing time is not on their side, and they still trail by 4 on the scoreboard. Burns behind the net. Less than 10 to shoot. Skips it to the far side, intended for Haley. It gets away. Weston Hammond in pursuit. They'll tie up. Shot clock will expire with 2:59 left. Roanoke searching for something. You're down 4 with less than 3 minutes left. Julian Cameraman working against O'Keefe. Forcing his way to goal. He scores. A flag flies to Kane, insisting he was in the crease. And they say no goal for the Maroons since he ended up in the crease. But O'Keefe goes off for a push instead, so it's an extra man opportunity for Roanoke with 2:41 left. So O'Keefe off for a penalty. And then after some discussion, then it becomes a legal goal. This will draw a conversation from Washington and Lee head coach Gene McCabe. We'll take another replay as how things broke out. So O'Keefe pressuring hard. The flag flew after Julian Cameraman had slid it in the back of the net, but being that he fell and stepped into the crease. There was concern that he was in the crease first and then that the penalty would override the goal. After a conversation with one of the other officials, they later changed the call. It's a good goal for Julian Kammerman. It's a 14-11 game with 2:41 left here in the fourth. And a holding call against Jake Brader seeds yet another face-off to the Generals. Tyler Spano has dialed it up here in the second half. He is 12 of 13 in the second half on face-offs. Washington Lee content to utilize some time as Roanoke again continues to stretch their defense. Not weaving around behind the goal. 2 minutes to play here in the fourth and a 3-goal lead. Generals really bringing a lot of spacing here. A try on a turnaround. Hits off the post and out, but they'll say that the Maroons get possession. Julian Kammerman losing his balance close to midfield. The WNL attackman standing him up. A flag flies. Delayed penalty on the Generals. What can the Maroons do? Docking sends it across, and it'll make its way out into the Roanoke bench with 1:10 left. Back to a man-up chance here for the Maroons. Alex Brown takes the penalty for Washington and Lee. And Roanoke will use a timeout. So a 30-second holding call against Alex Brown with 1:10 left sends Roanoke back a man up, trailing by 3 with just 70 seconds left. Bill Pilot will use a timeout. So the Maroons find themselves their backs against the wall here in the fourth. Roanoke has not beaten Washington at least since 2017. Their last win here in Lexington came in the 2016 campaign. WNL has won 6 straight against its rival to the south, Salem, against the Maroons of Roanoke College. A win here today for the Generals would be their 9th in a row. Another win over a ranked opponent, an unbeaten regular season and conference play, and an undefeated home record through the regular season as well if they were able to get things done. They lead by 3 with just 70 seconds left, but are down a player for the next 30 seconds as Alex Brown goes off for holding. Nick DeCane has made 11 stops in goal for Washington and Lee. Taylor Lewis has made 13 stops for Roanoke in a game that has displayed plenty of offense, but for Roanoke, being that they possess 3 of the top point getters in the conference, those 3 players, Luca Docking, Wyatt Whitlow, and Luke Kammerman, have combined for 2 goals and an assist here tonight. And the leading scorer in the conference, Luke Kammerman, 82 points, has been shut out. We're back underway as we close in on the final minute. Cameron skip pass, Whitlow, shot wide. Back in with a minute to go. WNL still down a man for the next 15 seconds or so. Roanoke looking for something. This one across the crease, knocked down in front. Comes to Elliott Cohen. Cohen using his speed, just racing across midfield. He'll settle it down. Washington and Lee will just hold and make Roanoke come to them inside the final 30 seconds. Taylor Lewis will engage in the ride. As Roanoke sends 2 guys at the ball, here comes a third. Smith Just slowing it down in front of the Generals bench. 10 seconds to play. He's got two people around him. He'll throw it to the far side. Out in front. Passing up a chance at a goal was Haley. The seconds come off the clock. Washington and Lee wins it 14-11 over Roanoke. They close out the regular season in conference play, unbeaten for the second time in 3 years as they go 9-0 through ODAC play. They win their 9th straight game and are 13-3 heading into the regular season finale on Saturday. Number 10, Washington and Lee wins its 7th straight game against Roanoke as they get to 13-3 here in 2024. 14-11 the final score. Roanoke drops to 13-4, 7-2 in ODAC play as they conclude their regular season. They put themselves in position to have the 3 seed in the conference tournament. And we'll await the winner of the first round game on Sunday to play on Tuesday at Kerr Stadium in Salem. Washington and Lee, they'll be off till Thursday of next week after Saturday's regular season finale against Christopher Newport, when they will play in the semifinals of the conference tournament. The opponent to be determined. They will play here at Wilson Field as the Generals conference title defense runs through Lexington, as the number 10 Generals of Washington and Lee knock off the number 19 Maroons of Roanoke 14-11. Some statistical leaders on the evening. Have a day, Jack Elliott, 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points. A game high leads the way for Washington and Lee as number 5 in white was in full control of this one. 2 goals and 2 assists for Hillis Burns. He had 4 points. A hat trick for Alex Brown, who's now up to 55 goals and has overtaken Wyatt Whitlow for the ODAC lead. Brown enters the final game of the regular season 5 goals away from tying the single-season all-time record in program history, and now sits at 135 career goals, 5th most in program history. Couple of points for Leif Smith, a couple of helpers for Michael Ott. 12 big saves for first-year Nick DeCane. He gives up 11 goals but makes 12 stops in a winning effort for Washington and Lee. For Roanoke, Trevor Lewis makes 13 saves while conceding 14 goals. A goal and assist for Luca Docking. A hat trick for Sean Kennedy, had the best night offensively for the Maroons. A goal for Wyatt Whitlow, 2 for Julian Kammerman and Patrick Cullen, as Luke Kammerman, the leading scorer in the conference, held off the score sheet. 82 points entering the day. He has 328 career points, second most in conference history. Scoreless here against Washington and Lee, as the big 3 of Docking, Whitlow, and Kammerman combined for just 2 goals and an assist. That'll wrap it up for us here at Wilson Field. Our final score between Washington and Lee and Roanoke. The number 10 Generals beat the number 19 Maroons 14-11 to conclude the regular season and conference play, a perfect 9-0 for the second time in 3 years. The Generals stretched their winning streak to 9 straight games. They were 13-3 heading into the regular season finale at number 7 Christopher Newport for the Lacrosse the Nations Cup on Saturday over in Newport News. Number 19 Roanoke concludes its regular season 13-4, 7-2 in conference play, and loses for the first time on the road this season. They will be the 3 seed in the conference tournament and await the winner of the first round game on Sunday to play Tuesday night at Kerr Stadium in Salem. Washington and Lee will be next at home next Thursday in the ODAC semifinals as their title defense runs through Lexington. Number 10 Washington and Lee beats number 19 Roanoke 14-11 as they win their 7th straight over the Maroons and 9th straight overall.